Hey, I'm Grogan, and this was my show, Long Story Short, at Maitland Regional Art Gallery, New South Wales. Unfortunately, the gallery's had to shut because of the Corona shit show, but Maitland have asked me to provide a virtual tour of the show, because so many won't be able to see the show. So behind me, I'm going to be showing my murals. Normally, one of my murals takes me 5 days each to make. However, with the help of two good friends of mine, I was able to pump out 3 in 7 days. So let's have a look at the next one. This is a weaving mural. So the idea is to mix different tones of blues and interweave them into each other to create an optical illusion. So it creates a chevron pattern. Here on the floor, we have a huge decal that says, "Oh, here we go again," which I thought was appropriate for the show. Long story short, here we go again. And finally, my third mural is my text mural. So I was hoping to showcase the 3 different styles of murals that I do: weaving, tiling, and text. Here, I went through all of my previous works that I couldn't include in the show and used all the punchlines. For instance, long story short, honestly, if there was money in poetry, I'd just do that, honestly. This was actually one of the original working titles of the show, along with Local Boy Comes Good. I'm from Maitland, I grew up here, and so I'm thrilled to show you the rest of the works in the show. They span 10 years, it took 3 years to collect together. So let's go look at the next one. So these are my folklore series of paintings. They're on marine ply, and they're just ink and acrylic. I wanted to point out a little technique that I used in this one. I used a wax lining to spill the ink into surfaces so the ink never overflowed. Come in and have a look closer at this one. Here you see a figure resting with 2 swans and 2 vultures on his shoulders, just having a dart on a Delft plate made by me. So these are my set of libraries made between 2014 and 2017. Altogether, they're 12 metres of public libraries that unfortunately are no longer available to the public. I'm just going to talk briefly about how I made these. So actually stand the works up in the opposite direction, paint the strips of blue, and then write the text. Spin the work around, and then rewrite the text. Because all of my process journals are actually almost exclusively text, I use all of my previous journals to find all the jokes, poems, and insights for the entire library. Hopefully there are no typos. Hopefully there are no repeats, but if you see any, shut up. So we're going to walk through the 12 metres now. All the little elements throughout the libraries are actually things that I have on my shelves in my home or studio. For instance, my little Michael Zavros. Pots that I've made. Down here is my Lionel Borden pencil Dick sculpture, made entirely of pencils glued together. Here's my Rolodex of Hate. Here's my little Nell sculpture. Here's my plastic snake that I used to scare all my studio pals with. Never fails. Here's my snow dome. Up here is my golden pony. That was my nickname as a little kid. Oh, here's my Michelangelo, David. Everyone's got one. Down here are my ashes, and it says, "My monograph will be awesome." Here is monument to when I lost my mind and took my head off. Here is my serenity prayer that my grandmother gave me. And it says, "Babe, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the fucking difference." Here is my Kirsten Perry sculpture. Good enough. Here is my clock that says, "Most of the time, I love you." Here is my vase of pink flowers that says, "Sorry," like all flowers should. Here's that one time I had a goldfish. And this is my 12 metres of library. So just to give you a sense of scale, this is how big it is. Sorry you guys missed it. So in this show, long story short, I wanted to show the 3 different types of practices I have. I do painting, drawing, and textiles. This is the first quilt I ever made in 2010. It's the earliest work in the show. It's called True Blue Babe. I moved to Melbourne. I was working 2 jobs, no studio space. So in between the jobs, on the tram or train, I would make these tiny little patches that I would then collate together. Some of my personal favourites, and very appropriate for right now. The best cure to worry is work. This work directly references the Westbury quilt, which comes from Tasmania. However, it is red and white. You should look that up, the Westbury quilt. Some of my other favourites, my love for you is more athletic than a verb, Sylvia Plath. Banjo Patterson, there was movement at the station for the word passed around. So all of these phrases are meant for me to be able to say to a partner or the nation and offered like a microcosm, macrocosm. I love this work. Here is another quilt in the show. It's called the Universe quilt. It's hand embroidered on laminated black cotton. And I started in the centre with a huge, that big fading book that is called 30,000 Years of Art. I started with page 1, the Venus of Willendorf, turned 2 pages, and kept spinning around and around and around to create this universe, this cave of quilting. We've got an auroch, a guy in tiger clothes down here. This one's really big. The 4 horses of the apocalypse, the Mir space station, satellites, rockets, monsters. Yeah. So this is my second most recent completed quilt. Now, in 2015, I packed up and left Melbourne and went to Europe for a year, deciding I'm not going to make work this year. I lasted 2 days and I found this blue piece of Italian wool that cost me a pretty bomb. And so whenever it rained, whenever I was hungover, I would start to embroider. Come on in for a close detail. It's a mountain of skulls. And I started in this corner and then just blew out with absolutely no plan whatsoever. Eventually I ended up with this. So there were all my reflections on all the experiences I had during that year and the only thing I made in 2015. Come have a look at this. This is chucks. And let me tell you, it is very, very difficult to embroider chucks. So the 4 corners of this, I've cornered with chucks. It's called the shroud. And I was thinking about the Shroud of Turin, so I was going to call this work the Shroud of Grogan. That is the correct way to pronounce my last name. But I thought it was a bit wanky, so just called it the Shroud. So finally, these are my large-scale drawings. They're done on a marble mount board. And like I said earlier, when my murals take me between 5 days each to make, these works behind me can take between 3 to 5 weeks each to make. So we're just going to start with this one. This is called Fucking Hell. And it's a tessellated fire and brimstone drawing with 2 figures caught in the middle. However, there are little secrets all the way through. There are ghosts, text, there are ghosts down here, figures hiding amongst it, and finally, the title of the actual work, Fucking Hell. This one here is called A Haunting, and it's when I was living a particularly wild time. So this is me sleeping, reflecting, reminiscing, being terrified, being haunted by all the things I've gotten up to. So we have all sorts of figures doing all sorts of dreadful things. Again, there are lots of things hidden throughout it. Broken bones, broken hearts, dicks in knots, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. This one is called The Wrestlers, and it's owned by Maitland Regional Art Gallery. Thanks very much. And here we find 2 star-crossed lovers intertwined, wrestling with where to go next, what to do, caught in amongst a golden idea of what is possible. This is iridescent gold ink that I've used, so it actually, in the flesh, changes colour when you walk around it. I'm not sure if the camera will pick that up though. This work here is called A Deliberation. Now, it's that inner monologue that you have with yourself that says, yeah, you can do it, or, oh, I don't think I can do it, or maybe we should run, maybe we should stay. Caught in this, like, Ouroboros-like conversation. Here, you're loving each other, you're hating yourself, you're still, you don't know what to do, you're fighting with each other, but it's all the one person and the many different aspects of what you think at the time. Finally, this one is called A Burning Bridge. Now, how often do we make compromises in relationships where you go, yeah, sure, no worries, but how often do you fantasize about burning that bridge down forever? That's what this work is about. Here we have 2 headless figures caught in this night sky, overwatching, again, in a dialogue with the bridge caught on fire. The ocean underneath ready to swallow us all up. So guys, that's my show. I'm sorry you couldn't make it, but I'll see you in the next one. Good chat.